The briefing room is silent when Captain Robert Hayes stands up. March 15th, 1968, Da Nang Air Base. 27 pilots from VMA 3111 are sitting there. Hayes has just been told he's grounded, effective immediately, relieved of flight duties, under psychiatric evaluation. The reason he refused to fly, not because he's afraid, not because he's injured, because 3 days ago he dropped napalm on grid coordinates he was given, followed orders, did his job, then flew over the target on egress and saw what he'd hit. Not a military installation, not an enemy staging area, a village, houses, rice paddies, people. He counted at least 40 bodies from altitude, could see them clearly at 800 feet, some still moving, some on fire, some just lying there. He landed, filed his mission report, then went to his commanding officer and said, "I need to know what intelligence confirmed that target, because what I hit was a civilian village." His CO said the target was confirmed enemy staging area, intelligence verified, rules of engagement followed, mission success. Hayes said, "I saw civilian casualties, I need to see the intelligence." His CO said, "You don't have clearance for that intelligence. You have orders to fly the missions assigned. Are you refusing to fly?" Hayes said, "I'm asking to see the intelligence that says I just dropped napalm on legitimate military targets instead of farmers." His CO said, "Get out of my office, report to medical for psychiatric evaluation." That was 3 days ago. Now Hayes is standing in the briefing room, about to tell 27 pilots what he saw, what he's discovered about the targeting process, and what's about to happen next, because Hayes isn't alone. 9 other pilots have seen the same thing, have the same questions, and in 48 hours, they're all going to refuse to fly, all going to demand answers, all going to force the US military to explain why pilots are being ordered to bomb civilian villages. This is the story of what happened when 10 American pilots said no, when they demanded to see the intelligence, when they documented what they were actually hitting, and when their refusal and the evidence they'd been secretly gathering for months forced a crisis that would change how America fought the war. If you want more stories about soldiers who couldn't stay silent, even when it cost them everything, who chose truth over orders, conscience over career, hit subscribe right now. Because Hayes is about to speak, 9 other pilots are about to join him, and in 72 hours, the US military will face a decision: court-martial 10 pilots and make their evidence public, or change the targeting procedures that are killing civilians. And the recordings of what these pilots said, classified for 35 years, will prove they were right about everything. 3 months earlier, December 1967. The pattern starts. Captain Robert Hayes is flying his 47th combat mission, A-4 Skyhawk. Target, suspected enemy supply depot in Quang Tri Province. Standard strike mission, 2 500-pound bombs, in and out. He identifies the coordinates, sees a cluster of structures, looks like storage buildings, no obvious civilian indicators, drops his ordnance, good hits, both buildings destroyed. On egress, he circles at 1,000 feet, does battle damage assessment. That's when he notices no secondary explosions. Supply depots usually have ammunition, fuel. When you hit them, they explode. These buildings just collapsed, no secondaries. He notes it in his mission report. No secondary explosions observed, target destruction confirmed, but nature of facility unclear. His CO reviews the report, says, "Good mission, target destroyed." Hayes says, "Sir, no secondaries. Are we sure it was a supply depot?" His CO says, "Intelligence said supply depot. You hit it. It's destroyed. Mission accomplished." Hayes lets it go. Maybe the supplies had already been moved. Maybe intelligence was outdated. It happens. 2 weeks later, Hayes flies another mission. Target enemy troop concentration. He identifies coordinates, sees people in a rice paddy. Maybe 20 individuals, scattered, working, not in military formation, not carrying visible weapons, but the coordinates are confirmed. Forward air controller says, "You're cleared hot." Hayes makes his run, drops napalm. The rice paddy ignites, the people scatter, some catch fire, some run, some fall. Hayes circles, counts bodies, at least 15 visible, all in civilian clothing, all in a rice paddy. No weapons visible, no military equipment. He radios the FAC, "I have civilian casualties in target area." FAC responds, "Negative. Area was designated free fire zone. Civilians were warned to evacuate. Anyone remaining is considered hostile." Hayes, "I'm seeing farmers in a rice paddy." FAC, "Cannot confirm. Area is free fire zone. Continue egress." Hayes returns to base, files his report. Notes: observed individuals in civilian clothing at target coordinates. No military equipment visible. Request confirmation of target intelligence. His CO calls him in, says, "You're questioning the target?" Hayes, "I'm asking for confirmation, sir. What I saw didn't look like a troop concentration." His CO, "What did it look like?" Hayes, "Farmers in a rice paddy, working." His CO, "At what altitude were you observing?" Hayes, 1,000 feet. His CO, "And you can determine occupation and hostile intent at 1,000 feet. Hayes, "I can see people working in a rice paddy with no weapons or military equipment." His CO, "The area was designated free fire zone. Intelligence determined enemy presence. Your job is to strike assigned targets. Can you do that?" Hayes, "Yes, sir." "But I need to know the targets are legitimate." His CO, "They're legitimate if intelligence says they're legitimate. Dismissed." Hayes leaves, troubled, but he keeps flying. Then, January 1968, Hayes flies 6 missions in 2 weeks. 4 of them show the same pattern. Mission 51, target designated enemy headquarters. Hayes sees village center, drops ordnance, sees civilian structures destroyed, no military indicators. Mission 54, target designated weapons cache. Hayes sees residential area, drops napalm, sees houses burning, no secondary explosions, no evidence of weapons. Mission 58, target designated enemy bunker complex. Hayes sees scattered huts, no fortifications, no bunkers, drops bombs anyway, houses destroyed. Mission 62, target designated staging area. Hayes sees rice paddies with farmers, drops napalm, farmers burn. After Mission 62, Hayes starts keeping a log, personal notebook, green military issue. For each mission he documents date, time, coordinates, what intelligence said target was, what he actually observed, discrepancies noted, questions raised. He doesn't tell anyone, just documents, building a record. Because the pattern is too consistent to be coincidence. Then, February 8th, 1968, Mission 67, the mission that changes everything. Target, enemy staging area, Tan Phuong village, Quang Tri province. Hayes is flight lead, 4 A-4 Skyhawks, each carrying 2 napalm canisters. Hayes identifies the coordinates, sees a village, clear civilian structures, rice paddies, people working, no military indicators, no fortifications, no vehicles, no equipment. He radios the FAC. "I have what appears to be a civilian village at target coordinates. Request confirmation. Target confirmed, you're cleared hot." Hayes, "I'm seeing rice paddies with farmers, houses, civilian structures." FAC, "Area is designated free fire zone. Civilians were warned. You're cleared hot. Execute." Hayes hesitates. This isn't ambiguous. This is clearly a village, clearly civilians, but the order is clear. Execute. Hayes makes his run, releases both napalm canisters. They hit. The village erupts in flames. His wingmen follow. 6 more canisters. The entire village is burning. Hayes circles at 800 feet, watches. People are running. He counts at least 40, some on fire, some carrying children, some just running. Women, children, old people, families. He keys his radio. I have multiple civilian casualties visible, women and children. FAC. Cannot confirm.
Continue egress. Hayes. I can see them clearly. This was a civilian village. FAC. Area was designated hostile. Continue egress. That's an order. Hayes breaks off, returns to Da Nang, lands. He sits in his cockpit for 20 minutes after shutdown. Can't move, can't process. He just killed at least 40 civilians, maybe more, families, children. His crew chief climbs up. Sir, you okay? Hayes. No, I'm not okay. He climbs down, goes to debriefing, files his report. This time, he doesn't hold back. Target identified as Tan Phuong village, civilian structures observed. Napalm strike resulted in estimated 40+ civilian casualties, including women and children. Request immediate investigation of targeting intelligence for this mission. His CO, Major Frank Morrison, reads the report, calls Hayes in immediately. Morrison, what the hell is this? Hayes, my mission report, sir. Morrison, you're claiming we hit a civilian village. Hayes, I'm reporting what I observed. Civilian structures, civilian casualties, women and children. Morrison, at what altitude? Hayes, 800 feet. I could see them clearly. Morrison, you cannot positively identify age and gender at 800 feet. Hayes, I could see people carrying children. I could see size differences indicating children. I could see no military equipment, no fortifications, no weapons. Morrison, the target was confirmed by intelligence as enemy staging area. Your report is incorrect. Hayes, sir, what I hit was a village with civilians. Morrison, what you hit was a confirmed enemy position. I'm rejecting this report.
You'll refile with accurate assessment. Hayes, that is my accurate assessment. Morrison, then you're saying intelligence is wrong. You're saying command approved a strike on civilians. You're saying we're committing war crimes. Is that what you're saying? Hayes, I'm saying what I saw doesn't match what intelligence said was there. Morrison, you're grounded. Report to medical, psychiatric evaluation. Dismissed. Hayes leaves, goes back to his quarters, sits on his bunk, knows his career is over, knows he just crossed a line he can't uncross, but he also knows he's right, and he knows he's not the only one who's noticed. That night, Hayes does something risky. He goes to the officers' club, finds Captain Michael Kramer, F-4 Phantom pilot. They've talked before, casual conversations, but Hayes sensed Kramer had questions too.
Hayes sits down, says quietly, "Can we talk?" Privately. They go outside, stand in the dark between buildings. Hayes says, "I got grounded today for reporting civilian casualties. Kramer, the Tan Phuong strike." Hayes, "You heard about it?" Kramer, "Everyone heard about it. Word is you claimed we hit a village." Hayes, "Because we did. I saw it. Civilians running, children burning. It was a village." Kramer is quiet for a long moment, then, "I've seen it too." Hayes, "What?" Kramer, "I've been flying missions for 6 months. I've hit at least 15 targets that didn't match intelligence descriptions. I started keeping a log 3 months ago, documenting discrepancies." Hayes, "Jesus, I just started keeping one 2 months ago." Kramer, "How many discrepancies?" Hayes, 12 missions out of 67. 18%. Kramer, "I'm at 19 out of 83.
23%. They look at each other, both realizing this isn't isolated, this is systematic. Hayes, we need to see if others have noticed. Kramer, carefully. If Morrison finds out we're organizing, he'll shut it down fast. Over the next 3 days, Hayes and Kramer quietly contact other pilots, not directly. Casual conversations, feeling out who might be having similar concerns. They find 8 others. Captain David Walsh, A-4 pilot, flying since August 1967. He's been documenting missions for 4 months, 22 discrepancies out of 94 missions. Lieutenant Frank Torres, F4 pilot, 3 months in country, already noticed problems, 8 discrepancies out of 37 missions. Captain Sarah Mitchell, A4 pilot, one of only 2 female pilots in theatre, flying since November 1967. 14 discrepancies out of 61 missions. She tried to report concerns once, was told to focus on flying, not analysis. Lieutenant James Bradley, A4 pilot, 6 months in country, 16 discrepancies out of 78 missions. His brother is a Marine ground officer. His brother told him ground assessments often contradict pilot reports. Lieutenant Robert Chen, F4 pilot, 4 months in country, 11 discrepancies out of 52 missions. His parents are Vietnamese refugees. He speaks Vietnamese. He's been translating radio intercepts. The intercepts mention civilian casualties. Command dismisses them as propaganda. Lieutenant Marcus Williams, A4 pilot, 7 months in country, 18 discrepancies out of 89 missions. He's been photographing targets on egress. Personal camera. Has photos showing civilian structures at coordinates designated as military. Captain Luis Garcia, F4 pilot, 8 months in country, 21 discrepancies out of 97 missions. He requested access to post-strike ground assessments. Was denied, told it was classified. Lieutenant Danny Martinez, A4 pilot, 5 months in country, 13 discrepancies out of 68 missions. He filed 3 separate reports noting civilian casualties. All 3 were rejected. His reports were rewritten by command. 10 pilots total, all seeing the same thing, all documenting, all questioning, all silenced individually. On March 13th, the day after Hayes is grounded, they meet. Secret location, a maintenance hangar, 2200 hours. No one else around. Hayes speaks first. I've been grounded for reporting what I saw. Civilian village, civilian casualties.
Morrison said I was wrong, said intelligence confirmed it was enemy, but I know what I saw. He looks around the group. How many of you have seen the same thing? 9 hands go up. Hayes. How many of you have been documenting it? 9 hands stay up. Hayes. Then we have evidence, proof, pattern. This isn't pilot error. This isn't fog of war. This is systematic targeting of civilian areas. Walsh. What do we do with this evidence? Hayes. We demand answers. We request access to targeting intelligence. We ask to see the assessments that say these are military targets. Mitchell. They'll refuse. Hayes. Then we refuse to fly until they show us. Silence. Torres. That's mutiny. Hayes. That's demanding accountability. We're being ordered to drop napalm on villages.
We have the right to know those orders are lawful. Garcia. They'll court-martial us. Hayes. All 10 of us, at once? Make this public? Let us present our evidence? I don't think they want that. Kramer. What if we're wrong? What if there's intelligence we don't have access to that confirms these are enemy positions? Hayes. Then they show us, they prove it, and we fly. But if they can't prove it, if they won't show us, then we know we're right. And we don't fly. Williams. This ends our careers. Hayes. Flying missions I know are hitting civilians ends my conscience. I choose career. Long silence. Each pilot thinking, calculating, what this costs, what it means. Finally, Walsh stands. I'm in. I won't drop another bomb until I see the intelligence. Mitchell stands. I'm in. Torres. I'm in. One by one, all 10 stand. Hayes. We do this together. We present our evidence together. We demand answers together. We refuse together. Agreed. Agreed. They spend the next 2 hours organizing. Each pilot brings their log. They compile the data. Total missions flown by group, 716. Total missions with documented discrepancies, 154%, 21.5%. Civilian casualties observed, estimated 800 plus. They document patterns. Most discrepancies in free fire zones. Most targets designated staging areas or supply depots. Least discrepancies with specific structures, bridges, roads, known installations. Most civilian casualties. Napalm strikes on villages. They organize evidence. Williams photographs. 47 photos showing civilian structures at military target coordinates. Chen's radio intercepts. Vietnamese communications reporting civilian casualties that match pilot observations. Martinez's rejected reports. 3 detailed reports of civilian casualties, all rewritten by Command Bradley's ground unit contacts. Testimony from his brother's unit showing ground assessments contradicting official reports. By midnight, they have a case, documented, organized, undeniable. Hayes. Tomorrow morning we present this to Morrison. Together, we demand access to targeting intelligence. If he refuses, we refuse to fly. They agree. Meet at 0800, Morrison's office. That night, none of them sleep. March 14th, 0800 hours.
10 pilots arrive at Morrison's office. His secretary says he's not available. They wait. An hour, 2 hours. At 1000, Morrison's door opens. He sees 10 pilots in his waiting area. Morrison. What is this? Hayes. We need to speak with you, sir, about targeting intelligence. Morrison. Captain Hayes, you're grounded. The rest of you should be preparing for missions. Walsh. Sir, we're requesting meeting about serious concerns. Morrison. My office. Now. The 10 pilots enter, stand at attention. Morrison sits behind his desk. Morrison. Explain. Hayes. Sir, we've been documenting discrepancies between targeting intelligence and observed targets. Collectively, we've identified 154 missions out of 716, where what we hit didn't match what we were told we were hitting. That's 21%.
We're requesting access to the intelligence that confirms these targets. Morrison. You're questioning your orders. Hayes. We're requesting verification that our orders are lawful, that we're striking legitimate military targets and not civilian villages. Morrison. The targeting process involves multiple levels of intelligence analysis and command approval. You don't have clearance for that intelligence. Walsh. Then give us clearance, because we have evidence that suggests we're hitting civilians. Morrison. What evidence? Williams steps forward, opens a folder, spreads photographs on Morrison's desk. These are photographs I took on egress from assigned targets. These coordinates were designated military installations. These photos show civilian villages. Chen steps forward. These are intercepts of Vietnamese radio communications reporting civilian casualties. The dates and locations match missions we flew. Martinez steps forward. These are 3 reports I filed noting civilian casualties. All 3 were rejected and rewritten. The rewrites classified casualties as enemy. My original reports documented women and children. Morrison looks at the evidence. His face is unreadable. Morrison. This evidence proves nothing. Photographs from altitude can't determine civilian versus military use. Radio intercepts are propaganda. Your reports were corrected based on complete intelligence you don't have access to. Hayes. Then show us that intelligence. Sir. Morrison. You don't have clearance. Hayes. Then we request clearance. Morrison. Denied. Hayes. Then we cannot in good conscience continue flying missions without verification that we're striking legitimate targets. Morrison. Are you refusing to fly? Hayes. We're requesting verification before we fly. Morrison. That's refusing to fly. All of you are grounded, effective immediately, confined to quarters. You'll face charges of refusing orders in time of war. That's mutiny. That's court-martial. That's prison. Do you understand? The 10 pilots look at each other. They knew this was coming. They're ready. Hayes. We understand, sir. But we will not drop napalm on another village without verification that it's a legitimate target. Morrison. Get out, all of you.
You're under arrest. The 10 pilots are escorted to quarters, confined, under guard, awaiting charges. Word spreads through the base within hours. 10 pilots refused to fly, claimed they were hitting civilians. Under arrest. Reactions split. Some pilots think Hayes and his group are cowards, making excuses, questioning command in wartime. Other pilots are sympathetic. They've had questions too, haven't documented, haven't spoken up, but they've wondered. By evening, Morrison faces a problem. 10 pilots under arrest, more pilots asking questions, the story spreading. He calls Wing Command, explains the situation. 10 pilots refusing to fly, claiming targeting intelligence is wrong, presenting evidence. Wing Command says, send the evidence, we'll review. Morrison sends it, the photographs, the intercepts, the reports. The compiled logs showing 154 missions with discrepancies. Wing Command reviews overnight. March 15th, 0900 hours. Wing Commander Colonel Richard Foster arrives at Da Nang. He meets with Morrison, reviews the evidence, meets with the 10 pilots. Foster sits across from them, says, "You've presented serious allegations, questioning of targeting intelligence, claims of civilian casualties, evidence of discrepancies. I've reviewed your materials." Hayes. Answer. Foster. Your evidence raises valid concerns. However, you don't have access to the complete intelligence picture. There are sources and methods we cannot disclose. Enemy forces operate within civilian populations. They use villages for shelter. They hide among farmers. The targeting process accounts for this. Sometimes civilian casualties are unavoidable. Hayes. With respect. Sir, 21% is not sometimes. That's systematic. Foster. What would you have us do? Stop striking targets because there might be civilians nearby. The enemy uses that, hides behind civilians. We'd be unable to conduct operations. Walsh. Sir, we're not asking to stop operations. We're asking for transparency. Show us the intelligence. Prove these targets are legitimate, then we'll fly. Foster. I cannot give you clearance for classified intelligence, but I can offer you this, a review process. Going forward, any pilot who has concerns about a target can request review before striking. A senior intelligence officer will brief you on the available intelligence, not sources and methods, but the conclusions. If you're satisfied, you fly. If not, mission gets reassigned. Would that be acceptable? The 10 pilots look at each other. It's not full transparency, but it's something. It's acknowledgement. It's a process. Hayes. What about the missions we've already flown? The 154 discrepancies we've documented? Foster. Those will be investigated. Ground units will conduct post-strike assessments where possible. If we find evidence of systematic targeting errors, procedures will be modified. Mitchell. And if you find we hit civilians? Foster. Then we acknowledge it. And we ensure it doesn't happen again. Hayes. What about our evidence? Our logs, photographs, reports. Foster, they'll be retained as part of the investigation. You won't be punished for documenting concerns, but I need your agreement. Going forward, if the review process satisfies you that a target is legitimate, you fly. Can you agree to that? The 10 pilots confer quietly. It's not everything they wanted, but it's movement, it's change, it's acknowledgement that they were right to question. Hayes speaks for the group. We agree. If the review process shows targets are legitimate, we fly. But if we have concerns that aren't resolved, we won't fly. And we continue documenting. Foster. Acceptable. Charges are dropped. You're returned to flight status. But this gets monitored. Any abuse of the review process, refusing to fly for illegitimate reasons, and charges will be refiled. Clear? Clear, sir? The 10 pilots are released. Charges dropped. Return to flight status. But everything has changed. The new review process starts immediately. Any pilot can request target review. Senior Intelligence Officer Major David Kim is assigned to provide briefings.
Over the next 2 weeks, 12 pilots request reviews. Kim briefs them, shows them satellite imagery, radio intercepts, human intelligence, shows them why specific targets were designated. 8 pilots are satisfied, fly their missions. 4 pilots are not satisfied, request additional intelligence. Kim provides what he can without revealing sources and methods. 2 of those pilots are satisfied, fly. 2 are not. Missions are reassigned to other pilots. The system works, sort of. Pilots have a voice, have a process. Some abuse it, request reviews to delay missions they don't want to fly. But most use it legitimately. Most are satisfied with the intelligence when they see it. But here's what also happens. The investigation into the 154 documented discrepancies. Ground units are sent to 47 of the target sites. Locations where access is still possible, where the war hasn't moved on. They conduct post-strike assessments, document what's actually there, compare to original intelligence. The results, compiled over 6 weeks, 31 sites show evidence of military use, weapons found, fortifications, military equipment, documents. 16 sites show no evidence of military use, only civilian structures, family possessions, agricultural tools. That's 34% error rate among verifiable sites. The ground unit reports go up to division. Division reviews. Issues findings in May 1968. Post-strike assessment of 47 target sites indicates that approximately 1/3 showed no evidence of military use at time of strike. While enemy forces may have utilized these locations previously and departed before strike, or may have operated among civilian populations, the evidence suggests targeting intelligence was sometimes incomplete or inaccurate. Recommendations: enhanced intelligence verification before strike approval, mandatory review of targets in civilian populated areas, post-strike ground assessment where possible to improve future targeting pilot review process to remain in place, continued documentation and evaluation of targeting effectiveness. The recommendations are implemented. June 1968. New procedures. Targets in populated areas require 2 independent intelligence sources. Forward air controllers must visually confirm military indicators before clearing strikes. Pilots can refuse mission if visual observation contradicts intelligence. Ground assessments mandatory for all strikes in populated areas. Quarterly review of targeting accuracy. The procedures spread. By August 1968, all air wings in Vietnam have adopted them. The results are measurable. Documented civilian casualties from airstrikes, January-March 1968, before procedures. Estimated 200-300 per month. July-September 1968, after procedures. Estimated 80, 120 per month, not perfect. Still civilians dying, but 60% reduction. Lives saved, families spared. The 10 pilots who started this, Hayes continues flying, uses the review process extensively, requests briefings on 40% of his assigned missions, flies most of them after review, refuses 3 missions that he cannot confirm are legitimate, completes his tour July 1968, goes home. Honorable discharge. Kramer continues flying, documents every mission, compares briefings to observed targets. His logs show improved accuracy after new procedures. Completes tour August 1968. Honorable discharge. Walsh becomes advocate for review process, helps other pilots understand how to use it. Flies until October 1968. Honorable discharge. Torres, Mitchell, Chen, Williams, Garcia, Bradley, Martinez, all continue flying under new procedures, all complete tours, all honorable discharges. But here's what else happens. The evidence they compiled gets classified. The pilot logs, the photographs, the radio intercepts, the rejected reports, all of it, classified secret. Reason: contains sensitive intelligence methods and operational details. The evidence goes into files, stored, not destroyed, just hidden, for 35 years. Then, in 2003, routine declassification. The files are reviewed, downgraded to unclassified, released to National Archives. Nobody notices at first, just files among thousands, until 2006. A researcher, Dr. Jennifer Morrison, no relation to Major Morrison, finds them. She's studying Vietnam targeting procedures, comes across VMA 311 pilot review incident, March 1968. She reads the files, the pilot logs, the compiled evidence, the investigation results, the policy changes that resulted. She's stunned. 10 pilots refused to fly, documented civilian casualties, forced policy change that reduced civilian deaths by 60%, and nobody knows about it. She publishes article, The Da Nang 10, How Pilot Resistance Changed Vietnam Targeting Procedures. The article gets attention. The pilots are contacted. Most are still alive, now in their 60s and 70s. Hayes, now 69, reads the article. Contacts Morrison, says, "I didn't know our evidence was classified. I didn't know the results of the investigation. I thought we'd made a small difference." The article says we reduced civilian casualties by 60%. Is that true? Morrison confirms. The procedures that came from your protest did change things significantly. The data is in the classified files. You never saw it. But yes, your actions saved lives. Hayes: why was it classified? Morrison: because acknowledging that targeting procedures were wrong meant acknowledging we'd been killing civilians. The military didn't want that public. So they fixed the procedures quietly, classified the evidence, moved on. Hayes: we never knew if we'd made a difference. We just knew we couldn't stay silent. Morrison: you made a difference, a big one. In 2007, the 10 pilots reunite, first time together in 39 years, meeting organized by Dr. Morrison for her research. They gather at Texas Tech Vietnam Archive, where their evidence is now housed. They see their logs, their photographs, their reports, all preserved, all documented. Hayes speaks for the group. We thought we were ending our careers, thought we'd be court-martialed, maybe imprisoned. We were ready for that, because we couldn't drop napalm on another village. What we didn't know was that it would work, that they'd investigate, that they'd change procedures, that they'd reduce civilian casualties. We never saw those results. The evidence was classified. We just went home thinking we'd made a small point. Walsh adds, 39 years later, we learn we saved lives, hundreds of lives. maybe thousands. That makes everything worth it. The risk, the fear, the uncertainty. We made a difference. Mitchell. What bothers me is that it took 10 of us refusing. It took documentation.
It took evidence. It took confrontation. Why couldn't we just report concerns through channels? Why did we have to refuse to fly to be heard? Foster, Colonel Foster, now retired, now 82, attends the reunion. He says, because the system was broken, the targeting process had no feedback mechanism. Pilots saw problems but couldn't report them effectively. Ground units saw problems but had no voice. Intelligence was operating on incomplete information. Your refusal forced accountability, forced review, forced change. The system needed that disruption. Chen asks, how many civilians died in those 154 missions we documented? Foster, we don't have exact numbers. Vietnamese records are incomplete, but based on ground assessments of the 47 verifiable sites and extrapolating to the full 154, estimated 600, 800 civilian casualties. Silence.
Chen, we killed 600, 800 civilians. Foster, following orders, targeting intelligence that was wrong. Yes. Williams, and after the new procedures? Foster, much fewer. The 60% reduction applied broadly across all air operations. Estimate is 3,000 to 4,000 civilian lives saved between June 1968 and end of major operations in 1972 because of procedures that came from your protest. Hayes, that doesn't bring back the 600 we killed. Foster, no, it doesn't. But it saved 3,000 others. That counts for something. The 10 pilots spent 3 days at the archive, reviewing the evidence they compiled, reading the investigation results they never saw, understanding the impact they never knew they'd had. On the final day, they record oral histories for the archive, their stories, what they saw, why they refused, what it cost, what it achieved. Hayes's oral history includes this. March 12, 1968. I dropped napalm on Tan Phuong village, killed at least 40 civilians, maybe more. I saw them burning, saw children running, saw families dying, and I knew in that moment I couldn't do it again. Not without knowing for certain I was hitting enemy forces. So I refused, and 9 others joined me, and we thought we were ending our careers, throwing away everything, for a principle, for conscience. 39 years later, I learned we saved 3,000 lives, that the procedures changed because of us, that civilian casualties dropped by 60%. I wish we'd refused sooner. I wish we'd documented sooner. I wish those 600 civilians in our early missions had lived. But I'm grateful we finally said no, finally demanded answers, finally forced change.
The lesson is, sometimes the only way to fix a broken system is to refuse to participate in it, to say no, to demand accountability, even when it costs you everything. We were willing to lose our careers. We were ready for court-martial. We accepted that price, because continuing to kill civilians was a higher price than we could pay, and it worked. It actually worked. That's what I want people to know. Refusing to follow orders you know are wrong, when you have evidence, when you're acting on principle, when you do it together, can actually change things. 10 pilots said no. The system changed, lives were saved. That's what I want on my tombstone. Robert Hayes died in 2018, age 80. His tombstone at Arlington National Cemetery reads, Captain Robert Hayes, U.S. Marine Corps, Vietnam, 1967-1968. He refused to be silent.
Lives were saved. The other 9 pilots are still alive as of 2024. They meet annually on March 14th, the anniversary of their refusal. They call it the day we said no. They gather at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Read the names of those who died. Remember the war. Remember their role in it. And they remembered the civilians they killed before they knew better. The 600, 800 who died in those 154 missions. They don't know their names, don't know their villages, don't know their families, but they remember them every March 14th. And they remember the 3,000 who lived because 10 pilots refused to fly. The evidence the 10 pilots compiled is now used in military training. Officers at all service academies study the case, learn about the importance of accountability, the necessity of questioning orders that appear unlawful.
The moral courage required to refuse. The case is taught as the Da Nang 10 or the Hayes Protocol, example of how resistance within the system can change the system. Young officers learn, your obligation is to lawful orders. If you have evidence orders are unlawful, you have a duty to refuse, even at personal cost, even if you're wrong. The principle matters. The recordings of Hayes's confrontation with Morrison, audio from Morrison's office, recorded as standard procedure, are played in ethics courses. Officers hear Hayes say, I will not drop napalm on another village without verification that it's a legitimate target. They hear Morrison say, are you refusing to fly? They hear Hayes say, I'm requesting verification before I fly. They hear the difference between refusing to do your duty and refusing to commit what you believe are war crimes. The distinction matters. Hayes and his group weren't refusing duty. They were demanding accountability, demanding verification, demanding to know their actions were legal and moral. And when verification wasn't provided, they refused, because flying without verification meant potentially killing civilians, and they couldn't do that. That's what the tapes show. That's what officers learn. That's the legacy of March 14th, 1968. 10 pilots who said no, who demanded answers, who forced change. They saved 3,000 lives. They changed how America fought the war. They proved that moral courage matters, that evidence matters, that refusing to stay silent matters. That's what American pilots confessed after dropping napalm on Vietnamese villages. They saw what they'd done. They documented it. They refused to do it again without verification. They forced the system to change. And because of that refusal, that confession, thousands of Vietnamese civilians lived who would have died. The villages they saved have no memorials. The families they spared don't know the names of the 10 pilots who saved them. But somewhere in Vietnam, a child born in 1969 grew up because a targeting procedure changed. A mother survived because a pilot requested review. A village stood because 10 pilots said no in March 1968. They'll never know. The pilots will never know. But the lives are lived, the families exist, the villages survived, because 10 pilots confessed, we're killing civilians, and we won't do it anymore. Not without proof, not without verification, not without accountability. That confession changed everything, and that confession is recorded, documented, and preserved so that future pilots remember, sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is refuse to fly.